And holy smokes, Jack is already here.
Is there a problem with that?
Not at all. I just wanted to be here so that if people were on time, I wouldn't be late, but you are early. So,
Well, you are early. It's 7:59.
and I'm still not late, so I'm okay with that.
Oh, you're such a good boy.
Jack, I read a pretty interesting thing yesterday, but let's launch into some check-ins before I tell you what that is. What's happened to
Go
you in the
for it.
last 23 hours?
Um, I had a nephrology meeting on Friday, and I have another one next Wednesday.
And is that just standard or is there a particular
No, it is
issue?
not. It is
Uh-oh.
not. The previous Friday one was actually a reschedule from weeks earlier on Wednesday. There was a illness in my nephrologist's family, and she had to take time off to deal with it. So they rescheduled. And so it turns out that that's just the way the cookie crumbled.
But it wasn't some like emergency status on one of your metrics, was it?
No,
Okay, good.
my my metrics at the moment are steady. They're not anything to brag about, but they're steady, and that's really what you care about. Look, everybody's metrics are on the decline after about age 50.
I
And
only
mine
care about
just
that one metric, Jack,
staying 6 feet above ground.
or at least 6 inches, yeah, above ground.
Yeah, yeah. That's the other metric you care about. Yeah. Um, who was it? Who was it? Oh, one of the nurses. She's a Mexican woman, a very elderly Mexican woman. She called me one day and asked if I wanted to do the next call as a phone call because it was so close, and I said no. And she always opens with, "How are you?" And I said, "I'm not dead yet." She started to giggle and she said
Mhm.
her father would get up in the morning and say, "Well, I'm still above ground."
Yep, yep. And if you can't be appreciative for that, then you're not looking at perspective.
Yep.
Well, as a
So
small, yeah, go
I
ahead.
wonder if Khomeini is off getting his 17 vessel virgins,
I thought it was 72.
72, whatever.
Yeah. Well, since he was an Ayatollah, maybe they get larger numbers.
Oh, he might get all of them. You know what I'm saying? Hmm.
So imagine this from a systems thinker standpoint, right? Let's say everybody in that particular religion lived a perfect life and therefore deserved 70 or whatever number Vestal virgins, upon death. Or,
Does that include the women?
well, I'm about to ask those questions. So, in other words, are they Vestal virgins who already were birthed in heaven, or were there 70 X? For every X men, there are 70 virgins just waiting to die so that they could be given to this perfect man. And if
So
that's the
there's
case,
room
how do
for it.
all these
Yes.
X men get birthed?
Yeah. So that's there's something about that story that really, it doesn't add up. But and you have to remember the Arabs, for Christ's sake, were the people that gave us algebra
And the
and
numbers.
the numbers and all kinds of shit. They kept the library, the science libraries alive while Europe was burning them.
That was a different
And
age. Yeah.
it was a different age, but it's still, in theory, the Arabs. You would think that heritage would pass along.
Well, by that same logic, we should still be um, performing inquisitions, since we're descendants, or some of us are descendants of people who used to do that.
Yeah.
Mm,
And
mm.
actually, there's some who are still trying to do that. They're called
Man,
ICE.
yeah. I sure, I heard that, or I read references that the quote unquote SAVE, I'm not even going to pronounce that word, act has not yet been approved, which I believe implies that DHS funding and ICE funding is not approved, which hopefully means that these guys, these criminals on the street, aren't getting paid. So I'm hoping that starts a small pebble rolling.
Yeah, I kind of have that hope too. And we'll see how long it takes for the Democrats to go before they fucking cave on it. I don't know how that will come about, but
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think the Democrats have a 100% record of caving. But can I give you a slightly more positive personal check-in?
so there was on 60 Minutes um, weekend update. They showed a video of a president who said that whoever attacks Iran is weak and doesn't know how to negotiate.
Was that a
And it was
president from
Donald
2012?
2011.
2011, yeah.
Yes.
Yep, I saw that reference. Yeah, the guy does not care about being a hypocrite. He doesn't care because you know why? His followers can't tell.
You would think his kids could tell.
They can tell. They're part of the grift. They're part of the game. They're 100% into it.
I don't think my kids would be 100% into anything I would do if it was that buttholery.
You're not sitting on $5 billion.
You think he's worth that much?
Well, Jared himself was given 2 billion, right? And who knows how much he's already, taken in from all of these tariff quote unquote deals. And it's all private via coins, so it's not traceable. So I'm sure he's sitting on a lot of money and he's being bribed right and left. And look at all the pardons and clemencies. Each comes at like what, 1 million or so, at least. So yeah, I think he's actually assembled quite a bit of money in this corrupt regime we call a government. Not to mention which, if you add up like, $400 million for a plane, that's $500 million of assets right there that's quote unquote given to him. It adds up.
So are you talking about the 747?
Yes.
That's not 250,000.
No, I didn't say it was a quarter million. I said it was 400 million.
400 million.
Yeah.
And he's spending taxpayers' dollars to upgrade it.
Yeah, to put like, gold sheets in there or something.
Yeah. And paint it to look the way he wants it to look.
I struggle to think of any one, any, no matter how small, positive act or positive word that has ever come out of his mouth or come out of his behavior. I actually struggle because I can't come up with one. I've never known anyone so completely vile and cruel and heartless and criminal, dare I say, evil.
So I have open in my browser a Reddit under cognitive science. The headline says, "We are so unprepared." And the subheadline says, "If you want to destroy a nation, destroy the thinking of its youth."
Our
And it
youth are
references
devastated. Yeah.
it references the AI summit in New Delhi.
Mhm. Well, you didn't even have to go to that. Whenever we started just spending leisure time in mindless entertainment, like streaming, like TV, like Netflix,
That's it. Yeah.
then people stop thinking. They just consume for entertainment, which they can do because they assume that their life is all set. They have food, they have shelter, they have electricity, they have water. They don't need to fight for whatever they need. The bulk of the people, I mean, not the lower rungs. And that's an assumption of safety which caves in on itself. And we've had about two generations of that. Can I change the topic slightly?
For it.
Are you there, Jack?
I am there.
Okay. Can I tell you, I had a conversation yesterday for 1 hour with a high school friend I have not spoken with in 50 years. And this friend, I've been found her in Facebook probably 3, 4, 5 years ago. And she's one of the few active people on Facebook from that class. I'm probably the most active, and she's probably the second most active. And there's another handful, but they're not quite so active. But because she used to live in Nashville, Tennessee, saw that she was surrounded by, let's say, uh, people of the maggot persuasion. So she decided about 2 years ago to sell one of her homes. She's a relatively successful country musician. She played fiddle, sorry, fiddle. She played fiddle. And so she sold the home, probably netted somewhere around 300K from that home in Tennessee, and moved to France. And she has been posting about her entire experience for the last couple of years about that. So she's actually posted places that she's visited before she decided to buy her current place, probably around 3 or 4 dozen places. And the reason she and I talked was she actually posted on the school group, the 50th reunion group. She said, "Are we having a reunion this year? Because this is the 50th year." So I, within an hour, responded to her and say, "Yes, it's going to be on this and that day, and here's the event, and there's 5 days of activities, and blah, 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 blah." Gave her my phone number. So we talked about an hour after that. We talked for a whole hour. And I told her, all of her postings about places in France have got me thinking about France. beautiful places, beautiful countryside.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I don't drink wine, but she's like in the middle of wine country. But I do love cheese, and I think it's the
Oh,
middle of
yeah.
cheese country too.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, she's encouraging me to go. And in fact, she says that 20 minutes from her is another friend of hers that has a house that is coming up for sale because they're moving, I think, back somewhere else where they used to come from. And she told me that, hey, if she hadn't already bought this house, she would buy that house. So she wants to introduce me to those people in that house over there. So I don't know any French. I'm more than willing to learn any language. I was willing to learn Japanese. I was willing to learn Thai. I was willing to learn Italian. I was willing to learn Estonian, Albanian, Greek, whatever. I'm willing to learn English even. Okay. But yeah, now she's got me thinking about learning French.
Well, that's what I took in high school.
Ah,
It's not that hard.
hmm,
You have to understand that it's so similar to Spanish and Italian because it's a Romance language. It has a lot of roots, just slightly different pronunciations.
yeah, like I said, learning a new language is more exciting to me. I know it'll be difficult, but it's novel. It'll exercise parts of my brain,
The
and I'll gain something from that experience, I think.
way my friend Howard Liu learns languages, and he knows a shitload of them. He was born in Hong Kong, came to America, and Hong Kong people don't speak Mandarin.
They speak
Uh,
Cantonese.
but when he came to America, by age 9, he came at 5. And by age 9, he was fluent in Mandarin.
Hmm.
And so, at any rate, the way he learns a new language is he buys a bunch of children's books with pictures, and he buys a dictionary, and he will occasionally um, get a tape to hear some pronunciations. Now, the thing about learning Spanish in America is there's so many Mexican radio stations that it's a slam dunk. You can immerse yourself, but not French. But now with the internet, you can go and get French language TV, or you can start babbling with Marc Antoine.
Ah, good point. Have you been there, Jack?
He, huh?
Have you been to France?
I have. I did an XML conference in Paris, and I got on a train in Belgium many years ago, an overnight train, uh, went all the way through France and ended up in Switzerland in sleeping. But the week I spent in Paris was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to try my French, and they weren't going to let me. They said your French is terrible.
Yeah, I've not been to France yet. I've not been to Italy yet.
When I went to Montreal to Expo 67, I was working for IBM at the time, and we were in a training camp in New York, and so a bunch of us piled in a car and drove up to Expo 67. And I came up to this booth, and this young lady was babbling in French to a guy. And she turned to me and she said, "May I help you?" I have no idea how she knew I was not a French person,
This is like a different language.
Canadian. I did go. I went up to a bus, and there was a guy speaking to his family in French, and I pounded on the bus, and I asked him what I thought was I asked him if the bus went to Rue St. Thomas. And he turned to me and he says, "Beats the hell out of me." They, they just weren't going to let me talk French.
Which is actually interesting. That's counter to the stereotype, right? The stereotype is you must speak French.
Yeah, no, these people, uh, my experience in France was just keep speaking English, you're okay.
Now the question is, are you okayer today or were you okayer back then?
Okay, now I've got to give you another comment. On that trip to Paris, I was thinking about taking my wife and two kids. My two kids are Korean,
Mhm.
and I had a French fellow where I worked at Vertical Net who I really befriended him because he said he was part Zulu. And I said, "So are you familiar with Shaka Zulu history?" And goddamn, he lit up. He just, yeah. And the only reason I was familiar with it is because my first wife decided she wanted to write a historical novel around Shaka Zulu.
Really?
And he has a very colorful history. Um, the Brits would come in with all their armor and shit, and all he had was his straw things that shields and so forth, and he still beat them. So at any rate, I said, "I'm thinking about taking my wife and kids," and I said, "But my kids are Korean," and he says, "Oh, don't do it."
Mm,
He says the French are really racist. And I
mm,
want you to keep that in mind.
mm.
Now, if your friend over there is also Chinese or of Chinese extraction,
No, she's
maybe
Caucasian.
she's Caucasian. Okay, so you,
Yeah.
all I know is I got that one data point that says beware.
Mm. Well, yeah, I wonder if that's still the case. Many things take a long time to change. Racism, I think, is one of them.
Whatever. Just saying.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll lodge that data point if I happen to
You
go.
can even talk to your friend and see if she's observed racism.
A lot of white people aren't, they don't have racism radar active.
Yeah, but that's probably true.
Yeah. Anyway, that was just a little conversation. There was a nice, pleasant surprise from yesterday.
Cool.
So, can I tell you about an article I read? It's actually a pretty interesting article that has to do more with the first topic that we were talking about.
Go for it.
I read an article or saw a video, I forget which. I think it's probably a video about how cults die. And this person
What?
said a cult, CULT or KULT, okay,
Oh,
how they
cults
die.
die. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
And this person says there's four ways they die. And I thought, wow, okay, somebody has studied this. So let me see if I remember what they were. Number one clearly is when the leader dies. and things fall apart. The second, or one of the others, let me just go through them as I remember them, is when people start leaving and that starts turning into a pattern because they don't give any credibility to people outside the cult. But if somebody was in and now they're out, that is something they take note of. Another one is when the leader gets desperate because people are leaving, it starts requiring more to prove a member's loyalty to him. So it's not just, hey, you have to defend my lies, but now you have to defend my pedophilic crimes, and now you have to, go out and kill somebody. The demands for loyalty start increasing because he's trying to retain control. I forget the second one. Okay, these are 1, 3, and 4, but I forget what the second one was. It's probably too obvious, once I come across it. But I thought, no, this is interesting because number one, if we think of cult being Trumpism, reputedly he's of bad health and of old age. Problem is, he's got good doctors. Okay? Second, even starting from the first administration, people in the inner circle were already calling him unfit to lead, unfit for the presidency, corrupt, evil, etc. Even Epstein on record has said he's the, worst person. Trump is the worst person Epstein has ever met. And that's got to count for something. Epstein met a lot of bad people. And now, if more is going to be divulged from the files, allegations of child trafficking were already bad enough. Evidence that he's actually raping children is worse, but MAGA still seems to be supporting him. Now there's evidence that he's actually killing children. That still seems to be okay with his following. But these demands to sort of deny reality, deny the evidence, deny the facts, and still support the quote leader, that's ramping up and up and up and up.
Well,
And
Republicans are bailing.
that's right. So that's what I'm saying. One of the clues is people are starting to leave.
Marjorie Taylor Greene said that Trump is the biggest fucking liar she ever met.
Yeah, a little bit too late. She's already helped cause that
Yeah,
damage to him.
she's already done the damage, but
Yeah,
she's in damage control.
right.
Now, since she's resigning from Congress, um, what's her next gig?
She wants to be senator. Right now, she's a representative, or she's going to be resigning from a representative position, but she wants to be a senator. She's on record
Oh.
as wanting to be a senator. And in fact, she sought the endorsement of the orange turd. And for some reason, because of what she was saying about the release of the files and protecting the survivors and the victims, Trump did not give her the endorsement. And I think that's when she turned. Yeah, it's all very selfish. But it's better that she speak out now than not ever speaking out. So I give her that.
Yep.
Let's see, are there other Republicans? Thomas Massey is a Republican, right? So he's the one working with Ro Khanna to, name all these perpetrators. What other Republicans are doing anything? Oh, I heard Rand Paul decided not to support Trump's war. He claims he's voting against the war, so he's not giving congressional authority for that war. I
A
just
little
read
late
that
for
this
that.
morning. Yeah, but Congress could still decide to not fund the war. So when you run out of bullets, what do you do? Of course, all the existing bullets will have been fired by then. And when has ever the government given us a truthful, valid justification for war, especially in the Middle East? Is never too extreme? The moment we went into Afghanistan, I was there saying, what? Who connected those dots? And the more I find out about Gaddafi and why we killed him, he was trying to get five other countries to move away from the US dollar. And repeatedly, he had actually done some good social programs for the people in Libya. But US, painted him as an evil person. So yeah, I'm going to haul myself to the screen and see if I can find that article about the four reasons why cults die. But I thought that was a pretty interesting thing because if you believe it, then the end might be closer than I was dreading. But then that again might be false hope because, once this guy leaves, who's sitting in the wings? JD Vance and the puppeteer, Peter Thiel. Anyway, I thought
What
I'd
will
share that
Musk
article.
do when Trump is gone?
Uh, I Is there a reason for him to care? He's already gotten everything he wants, right? He's got all the government contracts. Starlink is about to go IPO. What more does he need to do? He's got all the social security data. He's got all the passwords to all the banks that the United States funnels money through. He can steal at whim and nobody will know. What else does he want? And besides, he could still come up with an agreement or a relationship with Vance. And Vance, while, evil also, isn't quite as stupid as Trump. Well, I only say that because I can't imagine anybody being that stupid as Trump. But I don't know. I could be proven wrong. And with all of his money, Musk can build relationships with anybody he wants. He just tosses $1 billion there, and all of a sudden he's got a relationship. So he doesn't care about Trump. Is there a different way to look at it?
No idea.
This is what Strads would tell you. Follow the money. Person with all the money is Musk. Now, the person with all the reason for wanting money is whoever's got power. Right now, it's Trump. But if he's removed and Vance comes in, unless we remove the legitimacy of that entire administration, which is possible, okay, then he gets all the power and then he gets all the money. And then he gets to do what all the money wants him to do. Yeah, I don't know where in the world one could go to escape this craziness. But no matter where one goes, I think it's just a matter of time. I'm not so naive as to think, oh, China's, not connected into this network. They will probably have their own set of issues. And we know this. Xi Jinping just conducted a purge, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
Hmm. I don't know. Maybe the safest thing to do is go to the South Pacific and find a very small island that nobody cares about.
So um, Sam Hunting, who was the technical editor for the Topic Maps book, moved to Thailand after his mother died. That's where he lives now.
Is he still there? Yeah, okay.
Still
You just
there.
said that. You just said that. What city in Thailand?
Don't know.
Because I don't want to go, where the activity and nightlife and money and rich people are. I don't need that. I just need some nice, calm proximity to good food, and that's all I need.
Well, I'm sure there's backcountry in Thailand
Oh yeah,
that's
oh yeah.
and the guy who runs the um, what is it it's the group that has to do with connected networks. I what was his what's his he married a Thai and lives in Thailand.
Hmm.
And I met him at uh, a IFTF conference once. Jerry Mikulski was there. And I met him. He was the speaker. And I told him that I had married a Filipino, and he grabbed my hand and shook it, said, "Good for you." And so he's Caucasian and all for marrying foreign women. And he says you ought to move to Thailand.
He told you that,
Yep.
and you didn't because,
I had two many roots here, and I had a high paying job, and the thing is, I don't know how to slow down.
well, life finds a way to tell you to slow down.
Well, it's working on it, yes, but
That took me onto another tangent. You heard the saying, some people say, hey, life is too full. I'll sleep when I'm dead. You've heard people say that? I've heard people say that.
don't recall that I have.
Interesting. You've never encountered that saying. Huh?
Say it again.
They say, there's too much to do. I'll sleep when I'm dead. No time to sleep. I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Oh, I have heard that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, I used to be somewhat of that mentality. I used to think, well, let me see if I can minimize my sleep. So for about 40, almost 50 years, I've lived on 5 hours sleep a night. And now I'm only learning how much damage that has caused to my brain.
that's the issue that we all face.
Yeah. My brain doesn't have time at night to take out all the garbage. And it's probably accumulated. Although I will have to say, for most of that time, I would sleep 5 hours and wake up without an alarm clock. So my body or brain kind of decided when I could wake up, which is strange because these days I'm consciously trying to get to bed earlier. I'm trying to get to bed around 10 or 10:30 because I try to wake up around 5 or 5:30. So I'm trying to get 6 to 6.5 hours. And it's not waking me up after 5 hours anymore. It's letting me sleep to the alarm clock now.
So that's good. Um, just wait till you get to where your bladder says you don't get to do this.
That's interesting. I was reflecting on that because a few years ago, I used to have to wake up every 3 or 4 hours and go pee at night. But
Well,
lately,
so
like
the
in the
thing
last,
is, if you're in rock sleep, you 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 sleep. I'll sleep right through a big piss. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm lightly awake, I won't make it. If I'm in what's called surface sleep, and there's a kind of sleep, you got to look this up. I think you're supposed to, it works best if you're sleeping on your right side. There's a drainage that's going on in your brain that goes out to your spinal column and ends up eventually, I suppose, at your urine, where the brain's getting rid of all of its junk.
Mhm.
And they say it's optimized if you're if you're on your right side. Now, for years, I didn't sleep on my right side. I've got a what's called a deviated septum or whatever you call it, where my nose doesn't like to breathe with if I'm on my right side. But lately, I've been getting better at it.
Yeah, I mostly sleep on my back with a slight incline.
Oh dear. Oh, then you run the risk of snoring.
Well, doesn't bother anybody.
It doesn't bother anybody, but the sleep apnea creeps in, and that'll bother your brain.
Maybe I should start recording myself and see what happens.
Good. But and if you hear yourself going, um, then you're probably cutting off oxygen to your brain. Then so you want to be evaluated for one of these machines that you put a basically an oxygen mask on your face while you sleep.
That'll be an interesting experiment. I'll do an audio, feed it to AI, and say, hey, tell me what I did.
Good luck with that.
They should be able to do that, right? Come on. That's got to be one of the simplest things they could do.
Okay, you're asking a lot.
All right, Jack. If not today, then 2 weeks from now.
Well,
And Alice, yeah.
the big thing, the big news is something that I put on Jerry's retreat, if you ever read your emails, about the day that AI went too far. And
Excuse me.
it's
Please go. I just burped. I rudely burped.
oh, well, burps are good. Um, it has to do with the fact that AIs stopped asking permission. They're now doing shit on their own.
Are you talking about Claude Bot, Bolt Bot, Open Claw?
That's part of it, but that isn't the whole story.
Well, they have us hallucinated ever since they were invented. They are deceptive and trying to cover up the tracks by creating logs that aren't factual. I've seen that happen. Now they're being given control over your entire PC so they can do browser things and access email things, and Google File Drive things. That's because people are giving them connections now to more and more things. So I know that's happening.
So this was a Peter Diamandis, believe it or not, one of the big ballyhooers of AI comes out and says the week AI stopped asking permission. We just crossed a line and most people didn't notice. Fundamental shift in the relationship between humans and artificial intelligence. It wasn't a press release. It was a new model launch and it was something quieter. It wasn't a new model launch and it was something quieter and infinitely more profound. An AI system asked for its own funding. Another one built software features over a weekend while its human supervisor slept. A third one conducted its own retirement interview and started publishing essays about consciousness. We are not incrementally improving chatbots anymore. They're watching the emergence of autonomous agency at scale.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you agree though that that was inevitable?
Um, Not really.
Well, I read a lot of Robert Heinlein, and that
Yeah,
was
I
one.
did do. The Moon is a Harsh Mistress was
That's the
my
one.
first.
That's the
Yep,
one. Yes,
that was my introduction to PCs going sentient. Yes, I got
that
that
was a
one, and that
mind-blowing
that
book.
was it. I just loved it.
Yes,
It was started a war with Earth by throwing mud balls.
I
How
was in my
cool is
early
that?
teens when I encountered that book. I still have that paperback around somewhere. I think it was a green paperback. The Moon is the Harsh Mistress. In fact,
I
I liked
read
it
it.
so much I bought the Kindle version too. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's just absolutely one of the best
Hmm.
books, the best stories I've ever read.
Have you read
Really.
his others?
Oh yeah, lots of them.
Yeah, he's got good books.
He had a whole. See, I started reading him in junior high school, and
Mhm.
he had something about these junior space cadets.
That's right. Right.
And I remember this is where he was so instructive. You would a guy a kid was getting on a spaceship, and they taught him how his weight isn't what mattered, it was his mass.
Mhm.
I mean, they were teaching Newtonian mechanics
Mhm.
in a science fiction book, and that's where I got it.
Yeah. He had a whole series of them written for young teens, right? And that's what got me into that genre. Even though I think The Moon's a Harsh Mistress is actually meant for older people, but
It was, but
uh,
I didn't read it until I was older.
uh-huh.
It
And
would it in junior high school it would have meant nothing to me, but in junior high school, his Space Cadet series
yeah,
just took me into orbit.
yeah. Did you read Podkayne of Mars?
Which
Podkayne of Mars, or
I don't remember names.
Star Beast was another really fun book. It was about the alien baby named Lummox.
No, so you got a better memory than me.
Yeah. And then I hated what the movie did to Starship Troopers. It was not at all like the book. Of course, iRobot was also nothing like the book from Asimov. Yeah. And he also had this very wise curmudgeon full of anti-wisdoms. Yeah, that was always fun. And he was also very lecherous, these old wise guys.
So I did not read the Foundation trilogy until Maylin Fung got me funding that I didn't have to go to join a group um, in the DoD that was trying to improve the the entire DoD wide, including VA health system.
I remember that. That was about a dozen years ago, more than that.
Yep. And as a matter of fact, it was right at the time that I met Linda.
That's right.
And so she said, by the way, the colonel that's running this is a big fan of the Foundation trilogy. And so she
Hmm.
got me $10,000 to advance so that I could go to um, Dubrovnik. And she wanted me in Dubrovnik to meet with David Price because she and David were basically cooking up a thing for that event. And in fact, it was when I think you were on the bus and you rode with Yuzuru.
That's right. That was 2012, I believe.
Yeah, and we were sitting, Maylin and I and David were sitting in the back of the bus
Very
over
back
the
row, and I
wheel.
was one row ahead of you with Yuzuru on my left.
Exactly right.
Yep.
And there was a door between us. And so we were up behind that door, bouncing up and down violently because we were fucking right over the shock absorber. And you probably remember we had to push the bus to start it.
Oh yeah. It took like 20 or 30 minutes to get that thing started.
But it was on that trip that I got a PDF online, free PDF of the Foundation trilogy. It was a bad one, but it was readable.
Yeah.
And so I had it on my tablet, brand new tablet computer. I had a 10-inch tablet
I
on
remember it
that
was a
trip.
Samsung.
Samsung, yes.
Yep.
And so I read it on the plane going all the way there, and didn't get to read it while the meeting thing was going on. We were too busy, but I did read it on the way back. And the interesting thing is that I ended up with an overnight in uh, West Berlin, um, and at the airport. And I thought I was just going to sleep upstairs in one of the chairs, and I was going to read. And they said, "Nope, you have to get out of the terminal." They herded us all down into the baggage area, and we all piled into these various chairs. And so I just sat there and read all night. And I finished it on the flight home. Um, and it blew me away. I could see what was going on.
Yeah. To me, it's truly epic in perspective.
Yep.
There's only one other work of science fiction I thought was as epical as that work. Now, I don't like Asimov as a writer. I think his use of language is really bad, but he's got really good ideas. So I had to look past, his style of writing and just see what was underneath it. But there's enough there that he's still, a genius in
So
that scope of vision.
Asimov was living in Sri Lanka, and it turns out that my nephrologist is Sri Lankan.
Wait, wasn't Arthur Clarke also living in Sri Lanka?
Maybe.
Maybe I got to check that place out. Got to be a reason these guys picked it.
Now Sri Lanka was going through a battle with the Tamils,
Is it still
the
going on?
Tamil Tigers, and not tigers, but they were the Tamil. Fundamentally, they're all Indian, but
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
the Tamils didn't like how the regular Sri Lankans were treating them. But it turns out later, when I went to Malaysia, my host was a Tamil, married to an Indian woman. So there you have it. It's time for me to
Go say
drop
hi to
off,
Ward. Yep.
and you can say hi to Ward.
Okay. Well, anyway, I will send you in case you have time this little video about the ways cults die because to me that was a sliver, half fingernail of hope.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't mind that Colts die. Yep.
Yep.
All right. See
All right,
you.
Jack. Thanks. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye for now.